Hello, my name is Sherry Bretz. I live in the United States of America. I have been an American citizen my whole life. I've never broke the law. I have never missed paying my taxes. I've never been a menace to society. I'm a writer. It's really hard to know where to begin in this video without missing valuable points, but there are some evil things taking place in the United States that most people aren't aware of. And evil is something that most people can't even conceive. And I think that's the reason that so many bad things are happening, is because people don't understand evil, and they don't understand deception, and they don't understand how a whole empire has been built off crime and deception and lies that are actually enslaving people and making them victims every day. I mean, they think that they found the land of dreams, but from what has been happening to me, I would call it the land of nightmares. I'll just get right outside the devil's web and expose the lies and step into the light and get away from this group of preying predators. It's hard to know when I became a victim. All I know is out of the blue, one of my husband's daughters called and wanted to know if she could come to visit. Said she wanted to see a girlfriend in Kentucky, and I had not seen her for 10 years. And I said, sure. Well, she came and she stayed for a couple hours, and I had some pool food, and I was out at the pool with her, and she came in the house with her girlfriend, and they were alone for a while. And I noticed when she left that day, all my computer monitor images were leaning toward the window when they had been straight before she came. And I couldn't straighten it out. No one understood what was causing my monitors to all lean towards the front window. Everyone in the house would lean kind of to the left. Well, me and my husband started burning at night. And I stopped having periods. My liver started giving bad readings in blood work. My thyroid stopped working. I started developing stomach problems. I would be awakened in the night, and I'd have a burning sensation in my bladder, and then people would tell me on the computer they could make me pee on myself, and sometimes they would tell me they could make me have a bowel movement, and then they would tell me I had a doll collection in my closet, and then they would tell me where I parked my car in the day, and then they would tell me they had hidden cameras in my house and they had put pictures of me at a porn site. And finally, after a few years, I hired 3 different detectives. One detective came in from California, and he brought some very expensive technology. He said it was over $100,000, and I paid him over $7,000 to conduct something called a home sweep. He found radio waves in this house that shouldn't be here, that didn't go to radio stations. My second detective I hired a couple years later, Michael, he came down and he found tire tracks, motorcycle tracks on my property, and cutouts on my land, he said, that were so skillfully done he thought it was military. He said it's where they could watch me every night, but I wouldn't see them. And I noticed at night that when I'd be burning, I would look on my security cameras, and there would be a light, like an orange circular light, making a circular pattern, you know, outside whatever room that I was trying to sleep in, that would, where I was burning. And I couldn't sleep. For over a couple years, I was sleep deprived. And so I got an invitation to go to Europe and work with Simon Morrison. And so I did. I just wanted to get out of America to see if things would improve. And while I was there, he seemed to think he knew of this group that was doing these things to me. And he told me to stay off the internet, avoid them, but they're very powerful and very dangerous. I came back here hoping to get some kind of relief, and things only got worse. Then I started noticing people would sneak on my property, and a lot of times they would have skull clothing on, or sometimes they would have movie-themed shirts. One of the guys, his shirt says Nightmare Before Christmas, and then people started following me with handheld things that would zap my brain, and then they were targeting my brain more than any other part of my body. And they would tell me things like they were giving me a lobotomy from space. And then later they would call me slave. And they would tell me that they were going to take everything I had, and their favorite thing to tell me was winner takes all. But I could not leave the country because they would make death threats. I want to leave the country now, but they make death threats. But they have made me so mentally impaired. Now I went yesterday to get some business done. I couldn't even read the paperwork. I had to have the lady read it to me. I'm getting more health problems that can't be cured, and my back is just deteriorating after so many attacks. And this group really gets off on suffering. I tried to do a voice recording earlier, mentioning how my stepdaughter came to my house, and then they wouldn't let me download it. I called military colonels. I've been to CIA, I've been to FBI, and the military colonel kept saying, who is it you know in the military? This has got to be somebody you know in this military. And I kept telling him, I think it's because I met some famous writers and TV people in Maui that were affiliated with the Star Wars movie, and, you know, affiliated with a lot of new research, because they're all putting like NASA videos at their page. And I met a NASA scientist named Upendra Singh. He approached me when I was on the beach, wanted to know if I'd go with him to see the giant telescope that NASA had rented, and I told him no. But he took a bunch of pictures of me, and he hung around the hotel for a few days because we were stranded during 9/11, and he got very friendly. I told him I was not interested in any kind of romance because I was married, but he just wanted to hang out. Okay, so he would tell me what his ambassador friends were doing and what he thought was going wrong with America. And he was telling me that a lot of his friends were getting their money out of the United States at the time and putting it overseas because they didn't like Bush. They didn't like him. And all of this torture started when Bush was in office. And, but now I am enslaved in Kentucky. I am tortured every day. I have been violated physically, mentally. My home has been invaded multiple times. They have left mice in my home impaled with tweezers. They have left birds outside my door with no head. They have left in the church lot on my street skinned deer. I mean, and it's bizarre. It's not, the hunters would take the deer with them. And if I say or do something they don't like, people I've never even seen before will just start yelling at me and cussing me out. I've had people come in my creek, and I'd say, when they take off in my woods and kind of hide, and I try to make them leave, they just cuss me out. And the main thing is now they're telling me I'm a slave, and I have to do whatever they tell me. Me and my husband have saved our whole life. We've been very frugal. We're both retired. We've never done anything to offend anyone. We have never hurt anybody. So this is just so evil that they would pick us. And I think this group likes to pick people that they think don't socialize a lot, because they know that they can make easy targets. And one of the people online told me that they feed off Christians, that Christians make good stepping stones, and that Christians make this group very wealthy because they're so trusting. But I noticed that they don't like me mentioning when the torture started, when my stepdaughter came. They don't like me mentioning that my 2 sons are in special forces, and the man who talked my son into going to the military was my husband's ex-wife's best friend, who was Jenna Bush's bodyguard. He was her temporary bodyguard. He lived on our street. They don't like me mentioning those things. But every time I call Fort Knox or I talk to a colonel, they say it's always the person that's close to home, and the motive is usually something to do with greed. And they tell me that some soldiers have developed their own militias, and some of them are doing crimes for corporations, so the corporations are funding them to do something like criminal for them. So we've reached an age where anything goes. There's no protection. How can you trace all these weapons, and how can you determine what soldier is using them on their girlfriend or their spouse, or what son is using it on his father and his wife? You know, that's the dangerous country that I live in today. And there's no one trying to help anyone in this country to stop this. And they tell me, just die. You just more or less just die.